Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Public Works for today, Friday, March 22nd, 2019.
Commissioner Garcia, Cabello, James, Davis, and Colozo are present. President James, we do have a quorum. May we start with bureau introductions, please, starting with Bureau of Street Services.
Good morning, Pamela Ostrander, Bureau of Street Services.
Good morning, Udi Jimenez, Bureau of Engineering.
Good morning, John Olinger, Bureau of Contract Administration.
Good morning, Ali Posti, Bureau of Sanitation.
Good morning, Jay Wong, Street Lighting.
Good morning, Lori Rittenberg, City Attorney.
Fernando Campos, Executive Officer. President James, we do not have any speaker cards under general public comment. We did receive 2 emails from Mr. Jay Ross from the West Los Angeles Neighborhood Council regarding a couple of items that will be entered into the record. So again, there's 2 emails received from Jay Ross, which will be entered into the record and distributed to all commissioners. That will be under the Neighborhood Council commentary. We also received speaker cards on items number 1 and 4 for today's agenda.
Let's go ahead and take up agenda item number 4, Memorandum of Understanding Renewal Option. This is from Sanitation Los Angeles River Watershed Monitoring Program, recommending that the board exercise the 5-year renewal option as authorized by Council File 15-0271 to the Memorandum of Understanding with the Council for Watershed Health for the monitoring and management of the Los Angeles River Watershed Monitoring Program. By exercising the renewal option, the term of the MOU will end on September 30th, 2023. Hard to believe that's only 4.5 years from now. The total MOU cost ceiling remains unchanged at $1,520,079.39. Mahesh Pujari.
Good morning, President James and
Hi.
Commissioners. Good morning to all. I am Dr. Mahesh Pujari, and I'm the Assistant Division Manager of EMD, Environment Monitoring Division, and I'm also the Program Manager of the LA River Program.
Great.
So I have a big hat, and it's a very important project for the city, really. And I'm here to present to you that we are exercising the 5-year renewal options, which was granted by this board in 2014, and it was also went to the City Council and it was approved. And that was a renewal clause that both parties, we have to agree to move this project forward for another 5 years. So we requested Council of Water Health and showing our interest that we are satisfied with the program because it's very important for the city, and they also agreed that they will work with us. So it's really a mutual agreement. So let me give a little bit introduction why it's important to us, this program. Under the Clean Water Act, City of Los Angeles is a point discharger to the ocean and the LA River. To our permit, LAG and DCT, can you not hear me? Yeah. LAG and DCT, we discharge to the LA River. And under the Clean Water Act, and another act called Inland Surface Water Act by the State Water Board, we are mandated to maintain and inform the State Water Board what is the condition of the watershed, what is the condition of the river. We are discharging to the river. Is the water quality going down? Is the water quality remaining same? What is the long-term impact of the river? And in order to do that, it is a challenging job to monitor the 55 miles of the river, and we monitor the rivers scientifically, and mayor is also interested to inform the citizens that is it safe to go to the water? Is our people are getting contaminated with the bacteria and other pollutants? So we put this program together as an integrated program, and we really ask 5 questions in this program, and the questions seems to be very simple, but it takes quite a bit of work to do it. The questions are, what is the condition of the stream of the watershed? The next questions are, our conditions are unique interest getting better or worse? The third question is, the receiving water near the discharge meeting the water quality objective. That is the water board is really interested for. And is the water is safe to swim? And the last question, people are fishing, catching fish, and they're eating, and we like to assure them that they are not taking fish and taking pollution to their body. So all these questions we have been answering to this program. The cost of this program of this fiscal year, 18-19, is $270,570.69. And there is a plan in this MOU that it can increase no more than 5% CPI, so it can be less. And the total cost for these 5 years will be $1,520,079.39. And this fund is coming from the our SCMO fund, so general fund is not impacted. So with this, if you have any question, I will take on this.
Great, thank you, sir. And I will just also recognize for the oral record that the breakdown per year of the cost is included
Yeah,
in
it
the
is
board
there.
report. Right, thank you for that. I've got a speaker card, though, before we take a vote on the item, from Eileen Alduenda. Hi.
She is the director of CWH.
Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you, President James, and good morning, Commissioners. I'm Eileen Alduenda. I'm the Executive Director of the Council for Watershed Health. And I'd like to thank you for the opportunity just to introduce myself and a little bit about the Council. We have been managing the LA River Monitoring Program for the past 10 years, and we were really excited to share the cumulative results of the monitoring program this past September at our State of the LA River Watershed Symposium, which was well attended. And I brought our executive summary. I don't know if anybody has had a
Great,
chance
thank
to
you.
take.
Yes, our
but I'll
executive
pass
officer
these.
can pass that down.
I do want to just share that the Council is a unique nonprofit managing this program. We are non-advocacy, and so we look to use these results to inform decisions, and we share that through not only executive reports, but also through our social media, and we work with community-based organizations so they understand the progress made toward improving the health of the LA River. And we also use our social media to let folks know the good work that the city is doing and the decisions that are being made and the opportunities that they have to become better stewards of the LA River and our watershed. So I thank you for the opportunity to speak and look forward to our continued partnership with the city. And I have one more thing to share with you is that as part of being a good steward, it's always nice to have some tips and little reminders. And so every year, the Council for Watershed Health puts together tips from various organizations and agencies into a calendar. And so they're just a nice little reminder throughout the year. So I'll also leave these with you.
Great, thank you very much. Great photographs in this, by the way, particularly on the front page. Nicely done, thank you very much. Commissioner Caballos made a motion that we adopt agenda item number 4, seconded by Commissioner Garcia. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 4. Thank you both. Any issues sending? Thank you, sir. Any issues sending number 4 forthwith? We'll send number 4 forthwith. Dr. Campos, I know we had a couple of emails that were submitted under the Neighborhood Council category of commentary. We'll close that now, as well as general public comment. I see Dr. Reamer in the house for a presentation today. Mr. Reamer, please come forward, sir. Good to see you. Good to be home. Yeah. Welcome back. Normally we get you on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but those aren't board days as much.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. John Reamer, Inspector of Public Works, Bureau of Contract Administration. Thank you, President James, Commissioners, for affording me this opportunity to be here and to speak on behalf of a special person and to the family of Public Works and specifically the Bureau of Contract Administration. On this day, we honor and recognize Michael Chung. Where are you, Michael? I'm going to have him come up in a minute. This is getting challenging. Last week, you're not going to get any tears though from me, Mike, but Beth did. Last week we said so long, not goodbye, but so long to Beth Slick. And this week it's Mike Chung. God only knows who it might be next week. I mean, we're in that day and age where many of our excellent, loyal, dedicated city employees are moving on to another season, another chapter in their life, and that's where we are today. You come to appreciate those individuals that enable you to sleep well at night, where you don't have to worry about what's going on because you know that things are going to be handled if that individual is involved. That's Mike Chung. I had to be here today for no other reason than to say thank you publicly to Mike for what he's done, not just for this city, for this department, for our bureau, but for me. I've known Mike for a number of years. I had the pleasure of attending his wedding. I was there when he laid his father to rest. And so I had to be here today just to thank him. And the other thing is to say, Mike, you can change your mind. I mean, and I won't hold it against you if you do. But I don't want to belabor the point. Mike has done a number of things for this city. He came to the city with a wealth of experience working in the entertainment industry, in the studios as a grip. And then he started with the city as an assistant inspector with the Department of Building and Safety. But then he came over to Public Works. And in 1989, he promoted to construction inspector. Some notable projects that he worked on: the Japanese American Veteran Memorial Monument, the Northridge earthquake team, Westchester Parkway, where Mike was a key component to ensuring that that work was done. He promoted to senior construction inspector in 2000, where he was, during that time, the senior in charge of the Valley Grade separation. He worked on the gold line from LA to Pasadena. And then this little development over here called LA Staples Center. Mike was the lead inspector for the work that went on in the city public right-of-way. He promoted to principal construction inspector in 2013. And the things that he did primarily were handle utilities. And we all know that that is a challenge that we're working on. Mike has done a phenomenal job in helping us get as far as we have. And closing out, he worked with LAWA on the LAMP project, helping to establish the framework to ensure that we receive what we should as a city family. It's not easy being an inspector. It can be very difficult. We have some fantastic contractors, and then we have some contractors that make life a little challenging. And when you have those contractors that make life a little challenging, you need those individuals that can stand up to the challenge. Those individuals that can make sure, with respect, but also dedication, that they deliver for us and make sure that we receive what we should, and you, this board, are able to confidently know that when we bring before you a permit or a closeout board report, that that little statement there that says, I certify as Inspector of Public Works that this work has been done to the quality and standards that's set forth, that it's real. Mike Chung makes sure that happens. For the many years that I've known him, he has not hesitated to deliver. Now, he can be passionate, most certainly. He can rub some people the wrong way, definitely, because of a passion that he brings to the table. But I do not question his loyalty. I do not question his professionalism. So it is a sad day, but it is a joyful day in that he's able to leave on his terms. He's able to spend time with his family, and he has his wife with him, whom he'll introduce to you. And we can say to him, Mike, well done. 30 years of service, well done. So, Mike, would you please come on up? Oh, you thought I was going to tell the truth? I told everything, including the truth. Mike, in recognition of 30 years of employment with the City of Los Angeles, the Board of Public Works honors you, Michael Chung, Principal Construction Inspector, upon this occasion of your retirement as a mark of appreciation. And that word should be capitalized because we definitely appreciate your loyal and efficient service to the people of this city. And as civil servants, there's nothing else we can do but to serve and to serve well. You've done that for 30 years. It's signed by all the commissioners, dated this day, March 22nd, 2019, our year. Thank you very much, Michael. It's been my pleasure serving with you. Appreciate you all. Before you speak, if it please you, we have Roberto Costello, who would like to, on behalf of the Municipal Construction Inspector Association, make a presentation to Mr. Chung.
Please, great, thank you. Thank you, John.
Behalf of the Municipal Construction Inspectors Association and your fellow inspectors, we would like to present you with this badge for your retirement. Thank you very much.
Thank you. A new badge, that's 30 more years.
I can't retire now.
That's right, you got a new badge.
Yeah, I got a new badge. I got a new badge. President James, commissioners. Let me first start off by saying I love working for the city of Los Angeles. I love working as an inspector for the Bureau of Contract Administration. I've worked on many projects, and I was trying to think about it. The part that it always comes back in my mind is I didn't do this by myself. I had a lot of help, you know, from every city bureau and department. I had a lot of help, and even when I didn't want the help, but they came anyways, like from the city attorney's office. I didn't want their help, but they were there. You know, I didn't want to, but I had a lot of help. You know, I worked with some of the finest people, you know, not only for my bureau, which I would consider with my fellow inspectors and OCC and admin, but I worked with some of the finest engineers that I would compare them to anybody not only in this state, but in this country. I've been very fortunate, and like I said, I had a lot of help. I gave the city the best years of my life, my 30s and my 40s and 50s. And in return, the city gave me a job that had purpose. What more can I ask for? It gave me a reason to get up in the morning. And because of that, I love my job. I love coming to work every day. So I would like to thank you, the board, and the president and the commissioners, and my executive management from the Bureau of Contract Administration for recognizing me for my 30 years of service. It's been a great ride, and I can hardly wait to see what my next chapter will bring. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Monica. We'll start with Commissioner Cabello.
Thank you, President James. Congratulations, Mike. It's really impressive. I think when you drive along the streets of Los Angeles to see the legacy of your work and such huge monuments like the Japanese American Monument or the Gold Line or Staples Center, like that is something that you had a part of in making our city great. So thank you. And thank you for your passion. It's how I feel every day, every Monday. I just wake up and I'm like, okay, I'm ready for the week. And it's great to see that too in you as well. So enjoy your retirement. Spend a lot of time with your family, and thank you again for your service.
Thank you, Commissioner Cabello. Commissioner Garcia.
Thank you, President. Mike, I just want to say thank you for your 30 years. But I think one of the sad things that we're losing is the pride that you have working here for the city. And I hope that you can pass that down to those that stay working in the city, because we really need more folks like you, just like you. And you said, I love my job, and that's really what I think, just like Vice President Cabello. And you, I'm sure, I love my job too. I love working for the city. So I hope that your energy and your pride that you have for the city continues, and you continue to help others build up their pride too. So thank you for your time, and to your wife, thank you for supporting your husband for 30 years on working for us here at the city. Thank you both, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your time as a free man.
Well, and I had a major faux pas, because one of the biggest supporters that I have, and I say when I have a lot of help, I'd like to introduce you to my wife, Junko. So,
So You know, Michael, you have, as Mr. Reamer clearly communicated to us, just a stellar reputation, your career and your work in the city. So it is, as also Mr. Reamer alluded to, these are, we've had heavy losses for contract administration. We've kind of had it department-wide, but that's part of what we do. When you have just a great crew of people that work for the city, when they go on to the next chapter of their lives, as John mentioned, you know, then that has an impact on us. But the people that have great careers with the city like you have had, you know, people come along after you. They've learned from you along the way, and so you've left us in good hands, I'm sure. You know, to Commissioner Cabello's points, you've worked on historic legacy projects. These projects have changed the course of the city in a number of different areas, big areas: transportation, entertainment, tourism, and just really kind of the face and image of not just the city but the region. So what a great feeling for you as you leave your 30-year career with Los Angeles. I say it before, I don't remember who I heard say it, but I repeat it often, and that is, you know, sometimes at work the days are long, but man, when you get to where you're standing today, the years are short.
Oh, yeah. You know, it's, I was thinking about that. I dreamt of this day for 30 years. You know, I just didn't believe it was going to take 30 years before I could retire. You know, I always dreamed about retiring, but it was, yeah, 30 years.
And then it happens, and here you are, and you're like, wow, where did that time go? But thank you for just a stellar career, and for your contribution to the city of Los Angeles and to all of our residents and people that work here and pass through here, and have a great career in retirement. You and your wife and family have great years ahead for whatever you decide to do next. But on behalf of our office, thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. It's been my honor and privilege to serve the city of Los Angeles. Thank you.
One more. Commissioner Davis, BCA is yours,
Yes,
sir.
Michael Chung, I'd like to also join my colleagues in commending you for, first of all, as I ponder your career, for making a wise choice. I understand, according to Mr. Reamer, you were an entertainment executive as a grip, and you made a decision to come to the city of Los Angeles. And I think that was a wise choice, and I'm sure as you sit on your rocking chair on the front porch in years to come, you will agree with the greatest of pride, fondness, and fulfillment that the choice you made in dedicating your life, the early part of your life, to public service was time well served. When I think about the role that you had in the Bureau of Contract Administration, and what that role does for those of us who provide oversight for infrastructure services. As an inspector, it is one of the most critical roles in the Bureau of Contract Administration in general, but in public works in particular, because when we hire prime contractors to deliver for us a building, what they do and the quality of what they do matters. It matters not only to the people working on the project, but it matters to the citizens of Los Angeles. Inspectors are the people who enact the task that matters. I always say what we stand for in contract administration is that we inspect what we expect of our prime contractors. And you were the change agent that helped to make that happen. And it appears to me from Mr. Reamer that you also know how to shake things up in your work, and that's important. And I'm sure that is the reason why you are a principal contract construction inspector, is because you understand not only how to go in to expect from our prime contractors what it is that they should be doing, making sure that they are doing what they say that they are going to do in reality and not just on paper. And so I thank you for your 30 years of public service to public works. And again, as Bill Clinton said, we have less tomorrows than yesterdays. And so as we do that, you can look back with pride, you can look back with fondness, and you can look back with the greatest of fulfillment to know that you made a difference for the country's most dynamic Public Works Department. So thank you so much for 30 years of service.
Thank you, Mr. Davis.
Thank you, Commissioner Davis. So what we would like to do is take a quick photo before we return to our agenda. So Mr. Chung with your wife and Mr. Reamer and anybody else that wants to join us, we'll be right back.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Let's go to agenda item number 5, Task for Solicitation Amendment number 53 for Carollo Engineers, recommending that the board first authorize the Director of Sanitation or his designee to issue amendment number 2 to the existing task order solicitation SN 53, increasing the total budget authority from $14 million to, it's $1.5 million, to $15.5 million to provide sanitation program management support services. The term of engagement remains the same and will expire on July 22nd, 2019. So Ms. Mallory will tell us what's up there. And then secondly, authorize the Director of Sanitation, upon approval by the board, of the parent on-call contract as authorized by Council File 130949-S1 to extend the task order solicitation for a 5-year term with an annual expenditure of $9.5 million plus the escalation. Ms. Mallory, welcome back.
Thank you. Good morning, President James. Good morning, Commissioners, Bureau Representatives, Ms. Rittenberg, Dr. Campos. I'm Lisa Mowry, Chief Financial Officer for LA Sanitation and Environment. A lot of times when we come here asking you for more money, it's because something hasn't gone very well. But I'm here asking for additional money because we've had a couple of things go very, very right. The TOS, the Task Order Solicitation SN 53 that you have before you today, is one that we've been using for almost the past 3 years to provide consulting services on a variety of topics for LA San. Something that's a little unique about this TOS, a lot of them get issued and they're for a specific project. Support for a construction project or a study that's being done, whereas this is more of an overarching TOS, which has allowed us to do some really neat things and take advantage of similarities between similar types of work we're doing on the wet and the dry side of our house. For instance, one of the topics that we've been using this TOS for is to look at alternative methods of design, progressive design build. We have things that are happening on the recycled water side of our house in that area, as well as things that are happening on the solid side of our house around organics. And being able to do both of these projects and this type of work under the single TOS has meant that we've been able to do it a lot more effectively. We haven't issued a separate TOS and had potentially a different consultant starting from scratch and working their way up. We've been able to have the consultants who are part of this, as you can see, very large consultant team, work very closely together and take advantage of the work that one of them has already done and build on that rather than starting at the base level. So we're here today to talk about a request for an additional $1.5 million under the contract ceiling for this TOS for some things that have gone very, very right. One of which is the Safe Clean Water program, the tax around water quality, stormwater issues that the voters approved last November that will finally bring a significant amount of funding to our very deserving but historically underfunded watershed protection program. So we've been using this TOS to do some of the work both in the lead up to the election because people had questions. If I approve this, what am I going to get out of it? What sort of guarantees can you provide me that this is going to get used on the best projects? As well as work that we've done after the wonderful news that it did pass last fall. So some of the things that this TOS has been used for, and we need to continue to use it for, is establishing the governance structure for the city and how projects are going to be prioritized, selected, approved, as well as how additional non-project funds are going to be used as well. How the city is going to set up its systems to be able to account for all of the funds that we receive and use, and to be able to report back to the county, because that's one of the requirements that went along with this tax. So of the 1.5 million additional authorization we're requesting, 1 million of that is to be focused on Safe Clean Water, also known as Measure W. The other 500,000 that we're requesting are for some additional tasks that we have, one of which is around the wonderful announcement that the mayor made at our Hyperion Water Recycling Facility about how we are going to recycle 100% of our water there by 2035. This was already something we were working on, but having that target out there in such a public way and really stretching us to get to 100% water recycling means we need to devote even more resources to this. So a chunk of that 500,000 is to support that type of work. I'm pleased to report, as you've seen in this board report, we've done very well on meeting our targets under this contract for minority, women, small and emerging business enterprise. In all 4 of those categories, we've exceeded the pledged amount, and I'm pleased to announce with this additional 1.5 million, the pledged amounts in all 4 of those categories have been increased. So we've had a great working partnership with all of the consultants involved with this to make sure that we're using a very good, diverse range of consultants to support us on this. And with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Commissioner Cabello, we'll start there.
Thank you, President James. Not a question per se, Lisa, but more of a comment how, as I've begun this position and have been briefed by you, by Tracy, by all the sanitation staff, continually impressed I am about the breadth of the work that sanitation does, the challenges that you are presented, accept, and then step up to and supersede. I'm really excited about Measure W, or the Clean Safe Water Drinking Water Program. I probably got that wrong. And of course the Mayor's Challenge, which is such an ambitious goal. It's a huge challenge, but I think that if there's anyone that's going to do it, it's going to be sanitation. So with that, if there are no other questions, I'm going to move this one.
Okay, we've got the motion and the second. I've got a comment. Ms. Mowry, just for the record, really, Carollo Engineers also is a certified MBE themselves, correct? Or are they?
Carollo, I do not know.
Just listed as
Team?
prime, but...
No, okay.
Cordova is, okay, not Corolla, okay.
Correct.
The numbers are all good here. I thought I was just going to pile on a little bit with the fact that Corolla, but understood regarding Cordova. Thank you, Ms. Minamidi. Commissioner Davis?
Yeah, I just wanted to compliment the department for at least keeping a focus. Obviously, our first burden is to make sure that the quality of our work is what it should be. But often it's very difficult for us to be able to achieve inclusion, and so I appreciate the consistent focus on trying to do everything that we can to also make that a part of our work. And so you've done that today, and I hope that as we move forward, we will continue those same values in the work that we're doing in sanitation. And so thank you for this.
And just one point Commissioner Cabello and I were discussing. One of the reasons I asked the question and assumed I was right on Carollo, in the board report, they're listed as prime under the MBE section. And so that might be confusing for somebody else. So we don't count prime, but see how they're listed? See how it says prime under the MBE category?
Table 1 or table 2?
Yes, table 1.
Okay.
You see that, Tracy? Yeah. So that's why I thought I would point out for the record that since they're under that category, maybe they qualified for that category.
But primes never qualify.
I know they don't qualify, but sometimes they are.
I see.
And that's why I like to point it out.
Always nice to acknowledge.
Yeah,
We'll work on that presentation.
Okay.
Thank you.
So that way at least it's blank if it's if they don't qualify for it.
Okay.
Less than a. I remember, I know about Cordova, but Corolla was. It says it here, so that's why I thought I was making the point. Okay. Thank you. Commissioner Garcia.
I just want to make a quick comment. Bureau of Sanitation, I'm very happy to see that you're dedicating so much resources to outreach and education. This is very important so our community knows what you guys are up to and what we're doing with our water. So I thank you and commend you. Yeah, I like that a lot. Thank you for doing that.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So we have a motion and a second. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 5. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you so
Tracy.
much.
Have a nice weekend, everybody. Any issue sending number 5 forthwith? We'll send number 5 forthwith. What's that? Okay. Thank you, because I'm going there next. I thought so. It's not in the area where. Agenda item number 1. Bureau of Engineering, Council District 11. Above ground facilities variance and hardship waiver, 8,000 World Way West. What a great address. 8,000 World Way West. Recommending that the board first approve the request for a variance from the height limit requirement of the AGF ordinance pursuant to LAMC section 6208VB for the monopole. Secondly, approve the request for a variance from the volume limit requirement of the AGF ordinance pursuant to LAMC section 6208VB for the cabinet that will go next to it. Third, approve the request for a hardship waiver from the below grade requirement of the AGF ordinance pursuant to LAMC 62082A for the monopole and the cabinet. And fourth, authorize Verizon to install a 48-foot high monopole. This is not a wood one, it appears to be the metal one, and a 47 cubic feet cabinet adjacent to 8,000 World Way West. Ms. Wang. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Hui Huang, with civil engineer with Bureau Engineering at Central District. Today, I am presenting to you a Verizon application, which essentially is going to be a new cell site. The overall installation includes the monopole with the antenna installation, the cabinet with the electronic equipment, and also includes a meter pedestal. The meter pedestal is not part of this approval process because they conform with all the requirements of the AGF ordinance, and it does not require further board approval or review. Overall, the site is needed by Verizon to enhance wireless service to the LA International Airport and to fill existing service area gap. In March 2018, Verizon deposited $2,000 to Bureau Engineering to start this application. At the time of the initial application, they had sent first notice to the adjoining, abutting, and across the street property owners to notify them that they intend to install the telecommunications site. Council District 11 and Westchester Playa del Rey Neighborhood Council was also notified. Aside from that, Verizon further contacted LA Airport to notify them of the project and discuss the design and the placement. As far as the variance request for the monopole, because the monopole exceeds the 5 feet 6 inch height limit of the ordinance, they are installing a steel monopole that is similar in appearance and height to existing streetlights in the area, which we deem as creating as minimum aesthetic impact as possible. So we are satisfied with that design proposal. Aside from that, the height is needed for the antenna to function on a line of sight technology. So there is no technical feasibility for it to go shorter than the 5 feet 6 inch height limit. An effort to collocate the equipment onto a nearby 102-foot high light pole was deemed infeasible due to the fact that the street light has a ring that houses various street lights, and for the maintenance of them, it needs to be lower to a height where staff can do maintenance on the installation. So essentially, the pole cannot house any attachments onto it. In addition to that, BSL did review the proposal, and they did provide a written statement that deemed the site having no co-location option onto any of their facilities. In regards to the variance for the volume limit, the cabinet exceeds the 36 cubic feet limit volume that the HF ordinance prescribes. In the installation, it is being placed in a landscape area. So the existing landscape shrubs, trees that are in the landscape area would shield and screen the cabinet. We feel that that will minimize the aesthetic impacts from the roadway, and we deem that satisfactory. Aside from that, as far as alternative feasible options that they can provide that would minimize the sizing, Verizon has noted that instead of having an oversized cabinet, they can provide 2 smaller cabinets in the same area to house the total equipment and cooling installations that they need. However, the footprint and the sizing is very similar, if not slightly larger, so we don't see any benefit to that, and BOE will recommend for the single oversized cabinet instead. The overall site was approved by Cultural Affairs Commission on June 2017. In regards to the hardship waiver request, the overall site is in the Coastal Transportation Corridor and the Los Angeles International Airport specific plans. Whenever an AGF is proposed in a specific plan area, they're required to place it underground. If the applicant cannot place it underground, then they need to submit a hardship waiver request to the board. In this case, the monopole, the height needs to be provided so that the equipment can function, so it cannot be placed underground, so that will be a technical infeasibility. In regards to the cabinet, the applicant has noted that they could provide a controlled environment vault. However, that installation will require 2 42-inch high ventilation stacks that must be placed on the sidewalk in order to cool the equipment at all times. Additionally, so the visual impact of the cabinet versus the 2 air vent stacks will be not that different. Aside from that, the footprint of the controlled environment vault that will be underground will be much, much larger. So there will be additional construction impact, probably additional traffic impact as well. Aside from that, Verizon has noted that the cost to place the item underground will cost about $350,000, which they had quoted it to be about 5 times higher than the cabinet proposal. So they are noting a economic burden onto the project. We did speak to city planning about this project. In regards to the Coastal Transportation Corridor specific plan, the planner had noted that they did not need further review on the item. And for the LAX specific plan, city planning had noted that the AGF was in compliance, does not require further review from them. Because Verizon noted this site to be satisfactory to the technical needs, they have placed the location. BOE deemed the application satisfactory and in compliance with the AGF ordinance, and we sent out second notices to the adjoining, abutting, and across the street property owners, notifying them of this decision, as well as opening a 14 calendar day appeal period. On page number 4, you would see the aerial view of the second notification. The only landowner in this vicinity is LAX. There is majority undeveloped land and parcels. There is a tarmac on the north of this shot, and south of it is a hangar or warehouse parking area. Of the one property owner that was notified, we received no comments. CD11 has not taken a position about this project at this time. Page number 5 would give you a existing view of the area to place the installation. Page number 6 gives you an aerial view, a photo simulation of the proposed installation, which shows the cabinet on the bottom left corner, and you also see the monopole in comparison to the existing street light. Verizon has met all the requirements for this variance and hardship waiver request for the AGF installation. So at this point, Bureau Engineering are making the recommendation for the installation to be approved as provided, and I can take any questions from you at this point.
Thank you, Ms. Wang, for all the information in the background. It's helpful. Any questions, though, on number 1? Very thorough. I don't have any questions. Commissioner Davis?
Oh, no, that's...
Okay. Commissioner Garcia's made a motion that we adopt agenda item number 1. I'll second it. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 1. Any issues sending number 1 forthwith? We'll send number 1 forthwith. The speaker card on number 1. Ron. The speaker card on number 1 is in case of questions, which we don't have any questions on number 1. So no speaker card on that item. Agenda item number 2, task for solicitation number 113, MGE Engineering, recommending that the board authorize the city engineer to issue the task order solicitation to MGE from the Bridge Improvement Division's pre-qualified on-call consultants list to provide design and engineering support services for the Broadway streetscape improvement from 1st Street all the way to 12th Street, as stated in the task order solicitation number 113, with a budget authority of $3,611,832.36, which includes contingency. George, go ahead. 2.
Hi, good morning, Commissioners. My name is George Huang. I'm a civil engineer with the Bureau of Engineering, the Street and Stormwater Division. The board report before you today is to ask the city engineer for authority to issue this task order solicitation TOS number 113 for design and engineering services, and the task order is for is awarded to MGE Engineering. There was 3 proposals that we received for this task order. The others were from Mars, and the other one was from Kimley Horn. And our staff, after reviewing their proposal, determined MGE Engineering to be the most qualified to perform this task. So the task is to implement the Broadway streetscape plan, which includes widening from 1st Street to 12th Street. And the scope of work includes sidewalk widening, upgrading curb ramps, a lot of signal modifications to the existing intersections, and also part of that is we recognize there's a lot of basements are underneath Broadway, so we did add on an add-in task for the consultants to assess to design any kind of retrofit that may be necessary to implement the new sidewalk construction of Broadway. So the consultant, the task order has a disadvantaged business enterprise participation level of 6.01%, and for this contract, the consultant is committed pledging about 32.7% for the DBE participation. This funding is actually a combination. The funding for this task order is a combination of federal funds, which comes from the Active Transportation Program, ATP, the Cycle 2 funds and also from a Metro call for project funding. And then that amount combined of this 3.6 million is about 831 in federal funds. And then it's also a combination of local city funds, which is about 2.78 million. And with that, I will take any questions.
So, thank you, George. On the federal funding versus what I'll call the local funding, obviously the federal funding element requires the DVBE method of calculating the inclusion percentages. What percentage of the, or can you tell us the percentage of this project is federally funded, or this funding, this 3.6 million, is federal funded versus non-federal funding? Just because I see the first category under Federal Active Transportation Program grant of $576,000.
Yes.
Is that, and then I see below, if I'm looking at this, you go to the fourth one, it says federal earmark repurposing. But during our briefing, it wasn't entirely clear what you explained to me versus what's on the page. So would you break that down for the record for us?
Certainly. So if we're looking at page 5 of the board report, the funding table, the first two line items, Broadway from 4th to 6th and Broadway from 8th to 9th, those are federal funds. So the 576 and the 255,487 is combined together is about 831,487. That's the amount that's federally funded for this task order solicitation. And the rest of the line items, the next one, which is the BOE Special Service Funds of 1.034 million, that is a local fund, and supplemented by the next two line items, which is called Federal Earmark Repurposing Funds. Even though the name says federal, this is actually a funding that was that has been converted to a local fund from Metro. So this is actually considered a local funding. So that there are two line items for that. Federal Earmark Repurposing is the 1.128 and the $416,000. So altogether, combined, the local amount for this task order is 2.78 million.
So, because when we met in the briefing, and I asked these questions, obviously,
yes,
it came out that the breakdown is a little different than what's written here. Because if I'm just a layperson reading this online, I see the word federal, so I assume that's the federal.
That's correct.
And then the one that says federal is actually not the federal.
Right.
So, which is not necessarily self-explanatory. So I think I decided to go ahead and let the item go today with the board report that we had, but we would correct it orally on the record.
Yes.
But going forward, where we have some fund descriptions where there could be some discrepancy in just plain language, perhaps a supplemental table added to the board report to explain what the fund may be written as, but what it really is for a difference between federal and local funding would be helpful.
Certainly, and I know we mentioned that you mentioned at the briefing, and that's something we will take note of in future board reports.
Great, thank you for that.
Thank you.
Commissioner Davis?
I want to talk and expand upon our business inclusion that the President just briefly discussed. As we look at projects where we have multiple funds, including federal funds, how do we approach the project? Do we do it with the understanding that if it has a drop of federal funds that we aspire to achieve the inclusion of federal funds, or do we try to separate the various projects that have local funds and then not necessarily have to comply with disadvantage and diversity on those versus then we get the federal portion and we'll try to do a little bit there. What is our practice as we look at projects that have multiple funding that are divided in the way in which this particular one is? What is our practice?
Currently, what's driving the Broadway Streetscape project initially it started off as an ATP project, which was limited to 4th Street to 6th Street. And then we also have another federal funded project, which is 8th to 9th. So the project itself was initially supposed to be two separate construction plans for those, and we were going to just use the task order for under the federal contract. So, but at the same time, we had talked with Council District 14, and they were interested also in improving the whole Broadway Street, plan from 1st Street to 12th Street. So at the same time, they said that we had thought about what's the best way of constructing this project, and the best way was really to look at this whole corridor from 1st to 12th as a whole, and try to. Even though we have funding deadlines for the federal funded portion, which is earlier, we wanted to finish the design at the same time and look at the whole design in its entirety. And in order to do that, we wanted to hire just one design consultant under a task order. In order to do that, but by doing that, we're tying local funded portions of Broadway with the federal. So as long as you use $1 of federal funding in your project, it becomes a federalized project.
Correct. So in this case, in answer to my question, we approach and we practice in terms of when we receive federal funds, we practice this project in terms of our construction as if it is in fact, or that it is in fact a federal project. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Do we have an option in terms of when we divide it in the ways in which the board report divides it, do we have an option to do something other than that in terms of being able to separate out the local portion and apply a different standard than we would to the federal portion? Or is it as a matter of practice that we include all federal funded projects, no matter what the degree of it, as a federal project? Which of those two do we do? Do we have an option in some circumstances, or to your knowledge, we don't?
If it's a federal project, there is no option in the eyes of the FHWA.
So once we receive federal dollars, we have a federal project.
That's right. We have to procure the consultant according to the federal highway standards, and those are through various reviews through Caltrans and FHWA that they review the contract to make sure it follows their procedures and guidelines.
So in these cases where we have multiple funding, and we have many projects where we have multiple funding, our practice in the city is to the extent possible, to achieve diversity in that entire project, despite the fact that we know California and 4 other states have these state laws similar to 209 that only requires you to look at the quality of the project and not necessarily aspire for either gender or either various cultures that might be a part of your city, that while we have these local laws on one hand, however, I'm hearing you say, if a project, on the other hand, has any federal dollars, that then we treat those projects in the same standard that we do all federal projects, and we still do try to attempt inclusion with every community possible that we possibly can. That's what I'm understanding you to say.
Yes, that's correct. Yes, we do that.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, Commissioner Davis, you have excellent questions. I just remember that once you, not just on public works stuff, but when federal dollars come in, it's their rules or the highway, literally.
Literally.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, but thank you for that. I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 2. Dr. Campos, we don't need an amendment, but we clarified the funding categories, descriptions in the oral record, but we don't need to do anything amended-wise, do we?
No, you do not. I believe the recommendation by itself stands, and that's what this board is taking action on.
Okay, great. Then I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 2. Seconded by, I was going to say, don't all jump over yourselves there. Seconded by Commissioner Davis. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 2. Thank you, sir.
Great, thank you.
Any issue sending number 2 forthwith? We'll send number 2 forthwith. Agenda item number 3, Council District number 6. Relinquishment of rights in the future alley in lot number 7, ARB number 1, 11779 Sheldon Street, southwesterly of Glen Oaks Boulevard. and the word southwesterly is actually written here. Recommended the board first, execute the attached document relinquishing any and all rights to the City of Los Angeles for public alley purposes within the future alley shown on the attached exhibit number A, which is transmittal number 1, subject to the following condition: that the petitioner makes satisfactory arrangements with the Real Estate Division of the Bureau of Engineering at 1149 South Broadway on the 6th floor in Los Angeles with respect to payment of the document recording fees. Secondly, request the city clerk to attest the signatures of, well, either myself or 2 members of the board. Third, forward a copy of the report together with the executed document to the Real Estate Division. Fourth, instruct the Real Estate Division to record the executed document in the office of the county recorder when the condition in recommendation number 1 has been met. And fifth, forward a copy of the adopted Board of Public Works action to the petitioner. Mr. Vandergriff, welcome back, sir. Good to see you.
Good morning, Commissioners. It's great to be back before you. My name is Greg Vandergriff. I'm with the Land Development and GIS Division of the Bureau of Engineering. So we have before you a request to execute the relinquishment of this future alley located at 1179 Sheldon Street, just southwesterly of Glendale Boulevard. There is an exhibit that shows the location of the future alley at the back of this particular parcel. There are 3 conditions that have to be met for us to allow for the relinquishment of an easement. One of those conditions is that the easement was recorded as part of a tract map. This parcel was, this easement was dedicated as part of a tract map 13681, recorded in September of 1946. Also, that the alley is not improved. This future easement was never improved, nor used for the purposes of an alley. Further, that the time for the adoption of the future easement has expired. This was recorded in 1946. It's more than 25 years since the relinquishment, or since the easement was dedicated, and therefore the requirements for relinquishment have been met. Are there any questions?
Yes. Commissioner Reed, do you want to ask or do you want me to? So, just for plain terms, this means that the alley is reverting now. We've had these occasionally. The alley is reverting from what entity A to entity B? Entity A is public or private, entity B is public or private.
So the alley was reserved, or that area was reserved as an easement for us to adopt as an alley should it ever be necessary.
And we never did.
And we never did.
So it reverts back to the private property owner.
That's correct.
Okay. And they have to pay the recording fees and the title fees and all the other things.
Yes, and they also pay a fee to us for processing. They actually filed the application with us for that earlier on November of last year. And a copy of the application is included in the board report.
Okay. Commissioner Cavale.
Just a quick question. Thank you, President James. This is my first item like this, so forgive the, I won't say ignorance, but
they're
let's
always
just say,
confusing.
confusion of my question, which is assuming that the Real Estate Division or Engineering has notified CD6, CD6 probably isn't even aware of it and is okay with this. I just want to make sure that the council office is always brought into.
The council office was notified, and they had no position on this. There's no controversy. I do have a photo from Navigate LA.
Sometimes the council offices actually are very interested in them.
Right.
And so they'll show up or they'll send notice of support or,
This location is located up in the northeast area of the San Fernando Valley. It's actually adjacent to a DWP substation and a yard, although the particular parcel in question is privately held. So there is no potential for us to ever actually utilize this alley.
We're not losing anything here.
No. In fact, in actuality, By us doing this, we're facilitating the property owner to increase the value of the property through any future development they wish to pursue.
Which is why they're bothering to come back to us anyway. Commissioner Cavea.
I think for the future, although having schematics and navigate LA maps is helpful for a larger reference, Commissioner Garcia just pulled up the Google Street View map, and so if you kind of look at that, when you turn it back on, it's actually really helpful to understand what you're saying about the DWP facility, et cetera. So I would ask maybe if that isn't too much trouble to include a Google Street View in the board report, just so that we can understand and get greater context of where it is. I know it's a tiny alley, but it's helpful.
Great, thank you. That will be done. Commissioner Davis.
Yeah, I just had an informational question. Are there other neighbors who are eligible for the same situation in terms of easements there?
Yes, there's actually another segment of this future alley in the adjacent parcel that would be essentially northeasterly of this location. If they filed the application with us, we would go through the same process with them.
Great. Do we have any responsibility to notify people of that opportunity, or they have to know that and have that education on their own?
They have to find that information out for themselves.
They typically do when they see property sell or they see property move.
Right.
But yeah, we don't have a requirement. Okay, thank you. Commissioner Garcia's made a motion. Run, Greg. Commissioner Garcia's made a motion.
I'll second.
Seconded by Commissioner Cabello. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 3. Any issue sending it forthwith? We'll send it forthwith. Good to see you, Greg. Have a nice weekend. Dr. Campos, have we cleared the desk?
Mr. President,
I
this
have
takes you
minutes.
back to the minutes.
That's right.
And then
You've
you'll
got
clear
me
the
this
desk.
time because you've been holding some back. And then today we have them. So Monday, February 11th, is there a second to my motion that we approve the meeting minutes? By Commissioner Cabello. So those meeting minutes will be approved. We now have cleared the desk, correct?
That is correct, yes.
Okay, we're going to have a brief management meeting this morning to welcome our new commissioner. And other than that, we are adjourned. Have a nice weekend, everyone.